Yo, K-Base Guy here. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So last video, here's where we ended. I got everything set up, had the battery hooked up, wires routed, everything was underneath the floor panel, everything was good. Started the car and had no lights. And so I originally thought maybe it was a ground issue, but then I remembered it's not there right now, but the DM608 only turns on when it detects a signal and then sends a remote signal to my other two amplifiers, and that was the case. So once I hooked up my speaker wires that I spliced into the factory amplifier behind this panel, once I hooked those up, it turned on that amplifier or that processor, which turned on everything else. So we are good. What I've done so far, I have this old little two-way speaker, this a little came from a record player that I have for home theater. I brought this out here, and the reason why I did that, yesterday I took some time to make sure that all my wires were connected correctly. So what I mean by that are these wires. These are the wires that I use to splice into the factory amplifier. So I wanted to make sure that I was getting signal and that I spliced correctly. And here's how I did that. So this is a two-way speaker system. So that means there is a mid-range driver at the bottom and a tweeter at the top. This allows me to do two things. One, it allows me to see if the speakers are working in general. And then two, it allows me to see what's getting a full range signal and what is being crossover at the amp. So I found out that my rear left and rear right doors are a full range signal, which is perfect. Meaning that even though it has a tweeter and a 6.5 design, it's being cut off from the capacitor that's on the back of the tweeter. So this is getting a full range, this is getting a full range, but it's being capped off at certain frequencies, which is perfect. Why is that perfect? Well, I have crossovers that need to be installed. Let me grab one for you. This is the Focal crossover that goes to my Focal three-way set. And so it needs a full range input, and then this will passively cross over to all the speakers I'm using. So input gets full range. This is my 6.5, this is my 4-inch, and then this is the tweeter. And so this will do my crossover. And this is super important because the DM608 does not have enough channels to power a 10 speaker system like the Lexus has. But because I'm getting a full range out of my rear doors, I can use that signal to go into my DM608, and I can have 4 channels of full range output, and then I can split them to my Focal Access 1 crossover. So that is absolutely perfect. Now that allows me to work up here, my 6.5, and then there are 3 4-inch mid-range with tweeter design, so it's a coaxial speaker. So this up front is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 channels right there, just about, that I need to split into a different signal, and this will allow me to do that. So I found out what's full range and what's not with this driver here, with this little speaker here. I also plugged in the sub input to this to make sure that I was getting sub output at a very low volume, and yes, the sub works too. So everything is wired correctly. Everything goes into the DM608 that sits in that spot correctly. It's just until I can get the software to work, I can't get anything going with the car. So we need to work on that. But like I said, the show must go on. So what we're gonna do today, while I have some free time and while I'm waiting on Monday for the Bluetooth adapter, I'm gonna go ahead and mount my crossovers where I think I want them, and then get those wires ran to the back of the car. So here's what I'm thinking right now. So as you guys can see here, I took my panel off. The panel is sitting down here. So this panel sits kind of like this on here, right? I'm thinking taking this off and then maybe seeing how much space there is to mount the crossovers on the inside, and then close this back up. If it causes too much issue and didn't snap back into place, I'm just gonna mount them on the outside, kind of like that, and leave it there. It's not gonna bother me. There's plenty of space to do so. So if I put this back on, I can pretty much mount it like this, and then still have enough room for my foot. Once you put this back on all the way, it actually goes pretty far in. That's pretty much how it'll look. And then mount my crossover here or sideways up top, kind of like that, probably like that most likely. And the reason why I want to do that is because the grommet to get to here is in that area underneath there. So I can try to get my wire in and through the factory tunnel here into the door. That's the best way to do it, keep everything protected and looking factory. So that's going to be the goal. But for now, I'm just going to figure out when I want to mount my crossovers to, and then run my wire from crossover down the car, pop off this panel down here by the seatbelt, go all the way back, route it through here, all the way up, and then it'll end up being to that amplifier right there. So we're gonna do that on both sides of the car. Shouldn't take too long, I don't think. So that's gonna be the goal for today. All right, so we know where the focal crossovers goes, but in the back, if you remember, we're using image dynamic speakers back here because I don't have a full set of focals back here and I don't really plan on buying any since I'm never gonna be back here. But we gotta figure out where these are gonna go. I was thinking on this side panel, because this is as far back as my seat's ever gonna go. I was thinking kind of something like this, but I want it to be kind of stealthy. I'll probably just end up doing it underneath the seat, like some kind of like regular amp install or something. Pull back the cover, the floor mat. Got to put it something like that so it's never seen. Route the wires this way and then get them underneath that panel into this factory grommet here, this little tunnel through that panel there. So I think that's how I'm going to do that. So I guess wires, this wire goes from amplifier to the crossover, so I guess I'll do it this way and take it this way, maybe, or maybe I'll just tuck it underneath the mat. I don't know if I really want to do that. I'll probably just do it this way and come out, I think. And of course, here's the other wire. This goes to the front of the car where we talked about earlier. This panel goes over top of it, just like this. So everything is covered and you can't see any of that. So it's gonna be perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. All right, speaker wire is done. It's like nothing was ever put under there, and then that wire there will go into the crossover when I get everything mounted. Now, sticking with that same trend, we want to be organized, so we put our tabs back on here. We're going to label them. I tried to make sure that I used the same color tabs as I did on those speakers. So yellow was front left, so we got yellow on front left here. We'll write FL, and then we'll do the same thing for the other 3 speaker wires. So we're staying organized, and then once I get everything labeled, we'll tidy it up and make sure that it looks clean going to our amplifiers. All right, so we have options here. So there's the crossover, routed pretty nicely. I can really get it up here in the top corner, somewhere up there in the top corner, out of the way. The brake doesn't go much farther than this. So I could even leave it where we saw it and kind of put it right there. Easy access if I need to service it or whatever, keep it right there. I don't care that I can see it. You can only see it from that angle. You guys can see it because where my hand's at, but eye level, if you get into the car, this is what you see. You step in, you sit in, and you don't even see it from here, even from where you're sitting. So, I mean, it's my car. It doesn't matter if I see it, I know it's there, but you really can't see it unless you get down towards an angle. Like I said, eye level, you're up here with me. This is my eye level. You don't see crap. So I might leave it there just so it's easy access. I don't know. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you guys think I should put it. I could still stick it right here. I mean, arguably it's even more obvious, but it's out of the way. I don't know. We have options. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. All right, guys, it's a new day, and it's a bad day because it's out here raining. I got my umbrella above me, but we are rolling. So here's what's left to do. I have the DM 608 back in the car, and I have it set up, but I did not plug in the door speakers yet. Reason being is because I don't have the time to do that right now. Hopefully by Wednesday, I can do that on a better looking day than today. But I went ahead and got the DM Smart app set up and everything right there on my laptop, plugged directly to the processor. So here's what I've done. I went ahead and set my input, set my threshold, AccuBase, all that stuff is set. So once I plug in my speakers, I'm good to go. So how the DM works is when you plug in your high level inputs, speaker inputs, you can go ahead and open the app and it'll analyze what's going on with the sound, and you can EQ it yourself, or you can do an auto EQ and let them pick what they think should be done, and then you can go in and tweak it. So I've went ahead and tweaked it, got my gain set up and everything. The first thing you want to do is you want to get into your car and you want to find out what volume level is max as far as what's a clean signal. So what I mean by that is you don't want to send a bad signal, a clipping signal from the head unit to the DM608, because that's what it will produce out to all your amplifiers and your speakers. So you want to find your max volume. Mine goes to max 63 and it's a clean signal all the way up to 63. So I can turn my volume up to 63 without any distortion being sent to the DM608. So that's perfect. Once I find that number, I can come back to the app and go into my input view, and I can start messing with AccuEQ and summoning channels together and so on and so forth. We'll talk about that in the next video when everything is done, but we are super close to being finished. So the DM608 has been set up. It's sending signal out to the ACM 4.300 and also sending signal out to my Cadence QRS 3000.1D. So I have this sub set up for now as my little test sub. I'm gonna plug it up to the amplifier and make sure that my bass sounds good. And then in a later video on Wednesday, today's Monday of making this video, on Wednesday we'll plug all the door speakers together and I should have a full setup back in this vehicle. I am super excited, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you watched all parts of the series, I appreciate you. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway for somebody who've watched the whole series, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't watched the whole series, I recommend you go back and do so, because I'm going to be picking a winner for something car audio related. So it could be the sub, it could be that CT sub, it could be something else, it could be an amplifier, you never know. So I'm going to be giving something away, but you got to make sure you watched in order to be entered. But we'll talk about that later. We'll also go through the app as well and go through that with you guys in a separate video, so you guys know how to set it up. I did run into a lot of issues, but there's some workarounds, and so I want to share that with you guys as well. So I'm going to go ahead and finish what I'm doing with the app, hook my subs up and listen to them, and then we'll get right back with you guys in a later video. So we will see you in the next project, Lexus. Peace.